Good evening. Tonight we will be starting perek Vav, the sixth chapter of Mesilat Yesharim, part 1. In this part here, we are going to be learning about diligence, zerizut. Until now we have been learning about zehirut, which is about being careful about our deeds and being aware of our deeds so that we can reach our goal and get it closer to Hashem. And Ramchal says that after one has developed the trait of zehirut, being careful and being aware of our deeds, next comes zerizut. Zerizut means diligence. What is diligence? It means to hurry to perform mitzvot and to diligently complete them all. There is a saying, mitzvah ba'aleyatcha al tahmid sena. Then if you have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, do it and don't miss it. Actually, al-tahmid sena comes from the words hametz. It means don't let it go sour. Don't miss it. You have an opportunity to do a mitzvah, do it, and do it right away. Start from start to finish, from beginning to end. And so, Chachamim say, Zerizim makdimim la mitzvot. It means that do a mitzvah without any delay. So why do we have to really be on top of a mitzvah? Why do I have to do a mitzvah as soon as the opportunity comes along and not delay it? Okay, it can wait. We see actually, we have an example in the Torah of when Moshe told Bnei Israel they have got to bring all kind of materials. There's a list of 15 different materials to donate for the building of the Mishkan, the tabernacle. Materials such as wood, silver, gold, copper, wool, dyes for the wool, and the list is like I said, there's like 15 different material. The Nesi'im, these were the leaders of the Shevatim. They said, okay, let everyone bring, and whatever is missing, we'll provide, we will give. To their surprise, it took about 3 days for Bnei Israel to bring the material that was needed to build the Mishkan, to the point that Moshe had to stop them. After 3 days, he said, that's it, stop, you cannot bring any more. Now what happened to them? They had missed, they had tahmid sena, they had missed that mitzvah of giving a donation for the Mishkan. And they were extremely sorry about this. They realized their mistake, right? And so here the Ramchal says, there is a mitzvah that comes to you, al tahmid sena, right? Do it and do it without delay. Ramchal says that it is necessary to be, why he's telling us this, that we have to do right away, because it is necessary to be safe from the Yetzer Hara. Because as soon as there's a commandment to do a mitzvah, Yetzer Hara right away starts. He doesn't even let us think, not even for a moment, and he tries to get us into his clutches, so to stop us. Okay, and as we know, he has many tactics, as we spoke about it, right? But if we do it right away, with diligence, from beginning to end, then the Yetzer Hara has no power over us. and cannot cause us to behave improperly. So it really requires a keen perception and foresight to grab a mitzvot, right? There is a mitzvah, so you have to really be very sharp. There is a mitzvah here, don't let it go, don't miss it. Because then if we don't, then we lose mitzvot. So it's one mitzvah and one more mitzvah and one more mitzvah. Before we know it, we really lost a lot. The Yetzer Hara tries with tactics, as we said, to fail us and make us sin. So too he tries to stop us from performing mitzvot that come our way. And if we relax and we become lazy and we don't take hold of the mitzvot, then we won't have mitzvot to perform, because he would have a very good grab of us. He would really grab us and not let us go, not release us. The Ramchal says, and he cautions us against thinking that by mastering Zehirut, okay, now I know that I have to be careful about my deeds, and I have to think about it, and I have to be aware of what I'm doing, right? So I might think that that's it. Now, Yetzer Hara, I destroyed my Yetzer Hara and I'm okay. But the Ramchal says that's really only half of the battle. Because Yetzer Hara is only committed to holding us back from doing mitzvot. Doesn't matter which way, but that's what he wants to do. And he won't give up. So we must fight against the Yetzer Hara with the same focus and zeal that we use to fight it while learning to focus on our deeds, so we can achieve our goal to get closer to Hashem. Zerizut is the means of fighting and winning this battle. So Zerizut, if I want to really, I know I have to be careful, but now I know that also not only I have to be careful about the mitzvot, but I have to really grab a mitzvah that comes my way, right? How do I fight the Yetzer Hara? With Zerizut, with diligence. Zerizut does not come naturally. It must be cultivated. How is that? Ramchal says that the natural tendency of man is to be lazy. Well, some of us think, no, I'm not lazy. I'm not a lazy type of a person. You're right. But there's a certain natural laziness that we all have, all human beings have. Laziness is the very opposite of Zerizut. And I'm going to explain further later on. Laziness is the nature of man, which is very powerful. Chachamim call people who do not act with Zerizut as shefalim, lowly ones. What does this mean? Because one who has not yet acquired Zerizut is still in the clutches of his lowly spirit, physical nature. And I will explain. So one who wishes to do Avodat Hashem properly, he must work to overcome this nature. We're going to see later on how Shlomo HaMelech explains about this lowly nature, about this natural laziness. To overcome this nature, one must make himself strong against the Yetzer Hara and be diligent. Because if he leaves himself to his natural sluggishness, to his natural laziness, it is certain that he will not succeed in his Avodat Hashem, serving Hashem. One who wishes to attain Zerizut and Zehirut faces two different challenges. To attain Zehirut, one must find ways to overcome the Yetzer Hara, to actively sin. That's Zehirut, being careful. While to attain Zerizut, one must overcome his natural tendency to remain passive and not perform mitzvot. So the Yetzer Hara wants us to be passive. There's a mitzvah, well, it's okay, let someone else do it. That's being passive. Oh, I don't have to do it now. It's not my obligation. It's okay, it can wait. That's being passive. Ramchal says that to challenge one's zerizut, the Yetzer Hara need not to entice him with pleasure and enjoyment. Why? So the Chazon Ish says like this, said the battle between zerizut and laziness is a struggle between man's body and neshama. Okay? And as the Maharal, let me explain, the Chazon Ish was a very big tzaddik who passed away in 1952. He lived in Bnei Brak. He had moved to Bnei Brak from, I'm not sure if it's, I think it's Poland. And he was a very, very, very big Tamil Chacham, very big tzaddik. And then he also brings the Maharal also says, now who is the Maharal? The Maharal is another great tzaddik who lived about, I would say about 300 years ago, maybe 400 years ago. He lived in Prague, which is in Czechoslovakia, was also a very big tzaddik. And he says like this, laziness results when a person's material body and tendencies overcome his neshama. What in fact the Chazon Ish said, right? Which is a struggle between the neshama and the body. So blocking any spiritual activity, the body is going to block any spiritual activity. But as the Ramchal said, zerizut is needed to ensure that one performs the mitzvot properly. So it means it's a battle, it's a fight between the body and the neshama to want to perform the mitzvot and grab them when they come our way. It is a step up in the ladder towards the more spiritual existence. Because once a person has accustomed himself to Avodat Hashem with zerizut, the power of his training will distance him from materialistic things. If I work so hard and I really make it, it becomes a nature for me to want to do the mitzvah and do it properly from beginning to end, and every time it is time for me to do a mitzvah in the morning, I know I have to wake up early because I have to say a shacharit, and if I'm late, then I'm going to miss the time of Kiryat Shema, and if I miss it, or the time of the Amidah. So everything is so, there's so many different mitzvot, and many times a mitzvah depends on a certain time. It has to be done at a certain time. But if I work on myself and I know it has to be done, it becomes a second nature to me. And so that it attaches to my mind, and it comes to a spiritual perfection. But we're still not out of the woods. The Ramchal gives us the sources for the effort needed to acquire zerizut. Why? Because the Yetzer Hara, even though it's going to become a second nature to me if I work on zerizut, on wanting to do things at the proper time, as they come, as the mitzvah comes to me, and I want to start it, and I want to finish it, right? And I want to do it properly, the way it should really be. So the Ramchal says like this, and he brings the Mishnah of Yehuda ben Tema. Yehuda ben Tema was a Tana. A different period of Jewish history, we had many rabbis, but they were not always called rabbis. We had the period of the Geonim, we had the period of the Tanaim, we had the period of the Emoraim. Each one were great rabbis in each period. Every Tana was actually capable of making miracles, just like Moshe Rabbeinu. Just to give you an example of what is a Tana. So Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema said, as we learned it yesterday, be as bold and fearless as a leopard, heve az kanamer, and light like an eagle, vekal kanesher, and quick as a deer, and ratz katzvi, and strong as a lion, vegibor ka'ari. What for? La'asod retzon avicha shebashamayim, to do the will of your Father in heaven. To do the will of Hashem requires the behaviors shown by these examples of zerizut in the world of animals. Animals, like the lion, when he wants to go and hunt, and he's hunting an elephant, the size doesn't make sense. How can he go after an elephant? But yes, he will go after an elephant. But yet, he is so strong and so brave. But that's what we also need to learn. We need to learn. Sometimes the Torah gives us examples of animals. For example, we learn from cats to be clean. Cats like to be clean. They're constantly washing themselves, right? Also, we learn from the cat tzniut. When a cat does whatever, relieves himself, so a cat covers up with dirt whatever the cat did, right? And so that's tzeniut. We're taught to learn from it. Shlomo HaMelech taught us to learn from all animals. There's always something to learn from the animals. And here, Rabbi Yehuda ben Tema, he said the same thing. These animals are so brave and so light and so quick. When we say light, we mean quick and fearless. That's how we too have got to be, to have the zerizut of these animals. Chachamim also said that learning Torah and doing good deeds need constant reinforcement. I cannot say, okay, I learned Torah today, it's enough for 1 week. No. We constantly have got to learn Torah, because each time we learn Torah, each time we become stronger in Torah. And doing mitzvot also. We cannot say, okay, I've done plenty of mitzvot, it's enough. That's not really an option. And as we learned this from Yehoshua. Yehoshua, I mentioned this before, he was the leader after Moshe, and he is the one who crossed the Yarden, the Jordan River, with Ben Israel to go to Eretz Israel. And he was the one who led the Jewish army to fight against 31 kings that lived at that time in Eretz Israel. So Hashem said to Yeshua, Chazak ve'ematz me'od. And Hashem told him 3 times, Chazak ve'emat me'od, lishmor, la'asot kechol haTorah asher tzivcha Moshe Abdi. Strengthen yourself and fortify yourself very much to observe and do according to the entire Torah that Moshe, my servant, commanded you. This teaches us that even Yoshua, who was the Talmid of Moshe, the successor of Moshe, he had to be encouraged to act with zerizut when fulfilling the Torah. Even the greatest of men is required to make himself strong if he wishes to reverse his natural tendencies. The Yetzer Hara, Rabbi Yitzchak Sher explains that the trait of laziness is different from other negative traits like anger or being full of oneself, or to be a miser. Those traits are not common to every person, and you don't see them the whole time. Laziness, on the other hand, is a natural tendency of the body and poses an ever-present challenge. All of us are lazy. What is this? It is a weakness that one must always fight because of one's natural state of doing nothing. Will always find a way to compromise his willingness to act. The natural laziness will find a way to fight. Oh, okay, I can wait a few more minutes. In a minute, let me just do this, or let me do that, and push off. The Ramchal wants to warn us about the destructive power of laziness. So it's not just being lazy that we are just missing a mitzvah. Ramchal goes further and says it's actually destructive. Shlomo, and he brings from Mishle that Shlomo HaMelech wrote. And Shlomo HaMelech spoke about it many times in Sefer Mishle, demonstrating the evil of laziness and the great damage that results from it. Shlomo said, Me'at shena, me'at tenumot. A bit of sleep, a bit of dozing off. Me'at hibuk yadayim, lishkav. A bit of folding hands to lie down. Kimhalech reshecha umachsorcha keish magen. And your poverty will come like a traveler, and your lack like an armed man. What is he saying? Shlomo means that just as a traveler shows up unannounced at his lodging, the mobilized soldier moves quickly to the battlefield. It means that the lazy person does not actually do evil. He still brings the evil on himself through his passivity. Because before we even know it, a seemingly harmless bit of sleep, a little bit more sleep, here and there, Shlomo says that can lead to poverty. What does this mean, poverty? It doesn't mean poverty of actually whether you make money or not. Well, that too. But he really means here poverty of meaning that we're missing out on mitzvot. Because these are the tactics of the Yetzer Hara. It doesn't try to convince one to sleep without limit. It's very, very smart. Rather, when it's time to wake up, Sarah tells us sleep a few more minutes, just a few more, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Those bits of laziness accumulate until they add up to a considerable waste of time. Before we know it, we have wasted a lot of time. And wasting time is an avera. There is a story about Rabbi Yosef Shalom Eliashiv, who was the father-in-law of Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky, that from a very young age, he would wake up every day, every night at 2 a.m. to start learning Torah, right? And he kept this schedule all his life. Even when he reached the age of 100, he never missed it. And however, he would say that to overcome the Yetzer Hara, especially when in the winter and when he was old and his body was feeling the age, and what he would do as soon as it was time, I guess he must have had an alarm clock. As soon as the alarm clock, let's use that, rang, he would actually right away roll his blanket and put it all the way by the end of the foot. So this way, that was his way to fight the Yetzer Hara. This way, he didn't have that Yetzer Hara of, oh, okay, and another minute. Because as long as we are covered with our blanket and we feel the warmth, we still want another minute, another 5 minutes, another 10 minutes of sleep. But he really was able to fight it, to fight the temptation of staying a few more moments in bed. So laziness is a state that we all have. Is a trait, not a state. Is a trait that we all have. What is this laziness? It's this laziness of wanting to push off when we have to do a mitzvah. Because the moment we have been commanded to do a mitzvah, right away we try to give ourselves a few more minutes here, a few more minutes there. A perfect example is when you ask your child, go and get me something from the basement, and the child is going to be busy with something. Usually the child says, okay, 1 minute, let me finish this. I remember I used to do this to my mother. She used to tell me, go and get me something. I would tell her, okay, let me just finish this page. And before I knew it, I finished that page and the next page and the next one, and she was still waiting for me. That's what we talk about a laziness. So Be'ezrat Hashem, let's hope that Hashem will help us and that we have enough strength to fight the Yetzer Hara and be a little smarter than the Yetzer Hara, so that we don't miss out on our mitzvot. And in the zechut of this learning, may Hashem help us and bless us with beriut, health, good health, parnasa tova, nachat from the children, shidduchim for whoever needs shidduchim, shalom, and we should have always besorot tovot.